before just before I make that sharing about this topic, konting story about myself. Okay? So kokonti lang, I just share a little bit of myself. Of course, sinabi na kanina, no? But I actually grew up in the slum. This is my family. My father used to be a jeepney driver. Tapos yung nanay ko was, she graduated from college when she was over 40 years old. There are 5 siblings in the family. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Of course, hindi kasama yung nasa gitna, no? Because that's the dal ng ate ko. But yung pinakapanganay namin ang nag-take ng photo na to. And you know what? It's the only photo we have left as a family. And I think it's the only photo that we took as a family. So that was already our family photo. Missing one pa kasi yung panganay namin was taking the photo. But then again, kung titingnan mo, di ba, sa itsura pa lang namin, obviously, right? Parang hindi masaya sa buhay. Yung tatay ko siguro iniisip niya, saan ko kaya kukunin yung next na pagkain namin? Yung nanay ko iniisip niya kung makakapag-aral ba kami. I'm sure yung katabi ng nanay ko, hindi niya alam kung anong nangyayari. Yung isang ate ko na nasa baba, I'm sure kakabreak niya lang ng boyfriend niya at the time. Yung isang ate naman na nasa taas, siya lang nakasmile kasi she's covering something. May malaking butas doon sa wall namin, kino-cover niya. Ako naman, walang kaalam-alam sa buhay. Okay? So, I actually grew up na walang pangarap sa buhay. Totoo lang. Ang inisip ko lang, siguro pag nakapagtapos ako ng pag-aaral, eventually I will be able to, land on a good job, and eventually, ang gusto ko lang na maayos lang yung bahay namin. Yun na yung pinaka-dream ko at the time when I was, as a young kid. Because wala masyadong exposure, di ba? I grew up in the slum, tapos yung mga tao, basically yung mga examples ko of success, na okay lang ang bahay, mayaman na. Tama? No? Naayos lang yung bahay, napasimento, mukhang mayaman na pag mga ganitong lugar ka lumaki. So basically, yun yung takbo ng buhay ko. And then shortly before college, I actually I applied for a job at Dole, and I've been self-supporting student in college, and then I applied for a job at Dole, and I landed in a good job kasi sabi ko sa nila I was graduating. But before graduating, I got employed. I was corporate journalist for Dole. I was making some money, and then later on, I was assigned at the training department. And that's when I figured out that I really wanted to make an impact on the lives of people. So I resigned from Dole, and I joined another training company. I was referred there. And eventually, I got in as one of the 3 Filipino facilitators, among others, na naging facilitator then in that company. No. I remember they're from Australia, from New Zealand, from Switzerland, and also from America because it was a huge company. I was the youngest. I was only 21 years old. And then in one of our programs, there's a particular guy. Sabi niya sa akin, you have so much potential. Dalhin kita sa Manila. I want you to be my assistant. At the same time, I'm also gonna mentor you. So I got excited about it kasi libreng trip papuntang Manila, di ba? So eventually, I resigned from my job. And little did I know that this guy was actually, pagdating namin sa bahay nila, I remember, taking that plane ride na business class. I think it was my first plane ride ever in my life. Tapos biglang business class. Tapos hihingan ka ng pagkain, di ba? May mga menu doon. And naalala ko na di ko mabasa yung menu na nandun. So kung ano in-order niya, sabi ko lang doon sa steward na same. Basically, yun lang yung sinabi ko, same, because I didn't know what to order, basically. And it was such a wonderful experience. And then when we reached home, he lived in a 3-story house in Gilmore, in New Manila, with a swimming pool. And little did I know that the guy was actually mentoring young millionaires in Green Hills area. Okay? So because of that, I literally had a chance to rub elbows with young millionaires in Green Hills. At nakita ko for so many years, na parang wala namang kaibahan sa kanila. So I also dreamt of, becoming one. And so I remember when I was, after several years, this guy told me to go back to Davao City to start my own business. And I said, how would I start my own business if, in fact, hindi mo pa ako tinuruan? Sabi niya, you've seen enough, you live with me, and nakita mo pa how I raised a family, nakita mo how I raised people, and whatever you've seen, eventually, pass on mo lang dun sa iba, tapos apply mo sa buhay mo. Because you don't need a formal training to become a businessman and a millionaire. And now you're capable, you go back to Davao, start a business, be a blessing to other people. So I went to Davao. I started my first a training company because that was the only skill I had na meron akong parang more or less experience on. And I didn't make so much money. And so I had to also diversify. I had to sell just about anything that I could sell. I also joined a network marketing company. and just about anything. And then I met my wife Selena. By then she wasn't my wife then. And then I met her, and then she also influenced me to join network marketing. And wala akong idea about network marketing, but she introduced me to network marketing. And she's so in love with network marketing that after college, she graduated from UP Diliman. She never had a job in her entire life because she was already in network marketing when she was a student at UP. When she graduated, she never applied for any job because she just wanted network marketing. She influenced me to do network marketing. Ako medyo nagdadalawang isip pa because, I also had a different career path in mind. I also wanted to be, some things that I also dreamt of, all right, as a payoff for myself if I had to work hard. But anyway, I joined her in network marketing and stuff like that. But to cut the long story short, in our first 10 months, in all of those mixed businesses, we earned our first 5.1 million pesos and started to earn over $1 million per month. So we got married, and shortly after we got married in 2002, we already earned our first $1 million. And we had 3 franchise businesses. It was mentioned. I had 2 educational franchise, 1 food franchise. I had a consulting firm I was already doing and coaching at the time. And then eventually something happened. And that was when I was introduced to Usana. Okay. If I had a chance at the end of this presentation, maybe I can share something about it. So anyway, so right now, fast forward, this is now my family. Okay. I have 2 sons, Samuel and David. And I'm pretty sure that because of the choices we've made in our lives, although there were ups and downs, definitely, but because of the choices we made in our lives, I am 100% sure that our kids are going to live a very good life, and they're going to pass that on to our children. Number one, because we have Usana, diba, which is a legacy business, which means that they can also pass it on to their children. So if anything happens to us, pwedeng mapasa din sa kanila. Okay? So there. Right now, I'm part of the $1 Million Club members of Usana. I'm Executive 1-Star Diamond Director. I celebrated my 10th year anniversary in Usana in 2009, where I was also awarded, by the grace of God, the Country Vision Award. It was not expected, but maybe because we were active in terms of building a community, happier, healthier communities around the Philippines. Because of Usana, I also got some rewards for myself. I consider them rewards because some people would reward themselves with cars and stuff like that. I never bought a car for myself. It was always my wife who decided which car to buy because it's not my thing. But I wanted to expand my knowledge. I also wanted to expand what I could, the value that I could add to the world. And so I went to the best universities. I never got to graduate from college, but I applied directly to a master's degree. I got admitted in all the schools I applied to for master's degree, and I grabbed my first master degree, which was Master in Training and Development. And by the grace of God, I graduated with a perfect GPA of 4.0. And that's when it opened a lot of doors for me to top universities like Harvard, MIT, Berkeley, and all of these universities around, all right? And so I have in my badge quite a number of credentials. I'm a human performance technologist. I'm also an executive coach. I'm a professional mentor, innovator, and also practicing applied neuroscience. I have several startups like BrainX, number 1, which is obviously about the brain, but basically helping out companies develop their innovation capabilities, all right? And then I have QuestLab, Zapcode, Founders Next, Goals Future. The last 2 are actually nonprofit organizations. And of course, I have Usana. And that's one thing I really am passionate about, helping out people in Usana, because I get to see direct impact on people. Makikita mo kaagad, ma-measure mo kaagad kung yung magiging impact mo sa kanila. So anyway, in all of these things, maybe you've asked me, yes, I'm very busy. I get to do a lot of things, also accomplish a lot of things. But the secret to all of that is actually team development. It's the secret, because no one person can actually give one quality solution to any problem except when he incorporates the ideas of other people, right? Wala namang sobrang galing sa atin na tayo lang kakayanin natin. And I don't believe in that. I believe that, nobody's self-made. We are all made by the efforts of so many people surrounding us. And I believe in that. And I also believe that much of my success, whether startup, whether in education, whether in coaching, whether in Usana, is also due to team development. And you can only do so much, but with a great team, and you're able to build a very good team, then eventually, you can attract a lot of people, keep a lot of people, and they will also make wonders for you. I would say you don't always have to be the best to create the great team. You just have to recognize the greatness in people and make sure that people are given the platform to express that greatness. And that's basically my principle for leadership. I want people to be stepping on my shoulders if they can be better than me. And I would be so glad about it. And I also want people to, in any business, I want it to be easier for them, because that means if it's easier for them, then they're already stepping on my shoulders and they can also create great results, right? So leadership in that perspective is very, very important, so that you would know that in this journey, hindi lang ikaw, di ba? E ngayon, nag-PPS ka na, tapos nag-build ka na, naka-invite ka ng maraming tao, and malaking accomplishment yan. But don't be too self-sufficient to the point that you think you would not be needing other people. Kasi ang totoo, in this business or anywhere else, if you don't know how to build a team, if you don't know how to leverage, there will always be a limit to what you can accomplish. So let's talk about team development in the context of Usana, because whatever the context is, different ang application ng context. And I would say, in my years in network marketing and also in Usana, that the key to actually developing a team is to make it really simple and narrow and repeatable. Because if it's simple, narrow, because we are in sales, everything has to directly add up to production, and repeatable, because that's very important if you want to scale. And in this business, na online na tayo ngayon halos, scaling is very, very important, which means whatever nation, whatever country, kumbaga, pwedeng kopyahin, alright? Kukonting contextualization lang in terms of their culture, pero pwede siyang kopyahin, alright? So I will talk about the basics and the principles of team development. Now, when it comes to Usana, it's very measurable whether you are building a high-performance team. And I think a high-performance team in Usana can be measured in terms of these three things. Number one is high recruitment. Tama? I don't have to explain that. Ibig sabihin na team, dapat mataas yung recruitment. Marami na re-recruit, marami pumapasok. Tama? But also, dapat hindi marami lang lumalabas. Mataas din dapat yung retention. And that's the key. And retention doesn't only mean that you keep people, but it also means that, and we have a measure for retention, and that is our AO. Ibig sabihin, the quality of our retention is represented by the level of the auto order within the organization. Tama? So I think the pinaka-measure and ultimate measure of retention is actually the number of people in your organization who are on auto order. And you're supposed, if you are to make some retention strategies, it should be towards that. And of course, high results. High results means may rank advancement. Tapos at the same time, yung mga tao are very active in the corporate contest na binibigay ng mga ng corporate, and they're maximizing on that. And you are also seeing results. All right? Now, initially, if you have a sales perspective, right, just watching your high recruitment, high retention, and high result would be enough. But I've also seen and observed with people under my organization, and maybe not, and even and probably, with others, that if you focus too much on quantity, like high recruitment, high retention, high results, they are very important in business. But focusing too much on it without building on some foundations will eventually make your team short-lived. Ibig sabihin, parang machinery lang yung binibuild mo para pumasok lang yung points and stuff like that, and things become very mechanical. So it can also go short-lived. But, in Usana, we promise that this is a business, it's a legacy business. It's something that we can pass on to our children, which I believe that our vision should not be short-lived, all right? It's not just about recruitment, retention, results. They are very important. They are business results that you want, but you also want it to have continuity. You want it to be sustainable and not short-lived, that can be cut anytime, diba? So how do we make it sustainable? Then we also need to bring in two factors that are important, which actually represents quality of your team. Okay? In terms of quantity, yan ang nakasulat. But in terms of quality, may dalawang bagay akong ipepresent ngayon. Number one would be high trust relationship. If you want to have a sustainable team or a sustainable business, then you should be able to establish high trust relationship. So what do we mean by high trust relationship? Ganito kasi yan. Pagdating sa team performance, okay, let me explain what team performance is on the basis of, as in contrast with what do you call this? Individual performance is about, right? Ang individual performance, ganito lang yung ano niya, loop niya. Okay? Isipin mo, 'di ba? And what do you think is the most important of the three here? Is it belief, results, action? Well, when it comes to performance, the most important of these three factors is actually action. But come to think of it, it's actually belief that feeds action or enables action. Tama ba? Because yung belief, yung kumbaga, yung action mo, nakaantabay siya. Kung tubig pa yan, ito yung tubig, di ba? It's the same pressure in the pipe, but it's your belief, depending on how much belief you have for the business, for the potential of the business, kung gaano mo siya i-open yung faucet, ganun lang din yung tubig na lalabas. Ganun lang din yung action na lalabas. So, in other words, and this is proven even in neuroscience, that your belief will always dictate how much action will you execute. All right? It will all be dependent on your belief. All right? So, individual performance, ang loop is always like this. It's your belief, you work on your belief, and then you maintain consistent action, and then you create results. At the end of the day, it's really all about action, 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 action. The thing about this is that, yes, belief will always have, will always influence action, but it's action that also creates result. Now, in essence, action can also influence belief because once you are able to create results, then it feeds your belief. So indirectly, action can actually empower belief. You get that? Through the results. Pero if there is, and it's obvious that if there's less action, mas lesser yung result, then sasabihin mo, nako, baka hindi para sa akin itong Usana, baka, and you have all of these, come up with all of the excuses and whatever, all right? That's for individual performance. Now, if you're able to perfect the matrix, more or less at the personal level, may taas mo yung belief mo, you're taking consistent action, backed up, and by the way, consistent action is always backed up with a ritual or a routine, okay? So dapat may routine ka so that it becomes consistent, then you can create results for yourself. Tama? So wag kang huminto sa platinum pace setter mo and you keep on doing it, keep on growing it, because eventually as you are more immersed, you dive in, and some of you probably, ako personally, if you're PPPS now, that's not the ultimate. You're probably just ankle deep in terms of the potential of Usana in changing your life. You also want to taste knee deep of Usana, which is probably taking you to being director, waist deep to gold director. Pero if I were you, Usana is such an ocean of potential and opportunities. So dive in this one big ocean. All right. So that's for the individual performance. Now, a lot of people run their team with only these three things as factors that they look at in terms of improving team performance. And yet they end up a failure because all they do is actually feed individual performance. Now, pagdating sa team performance, it doesn't look like this. It's not just about these three, but team performance is a little more complicated than that. Not too complicated because you add up relationship. In team performance, relationship has a huge factor almost in all areas. You get that? And come to think of it, a lot of people sometimes quit. You don't get to retain them. Sometimes not because pangit yung ayaw na nila sa produkto, or probably ayaw na nila sa company or sa marketing plan. And most people, if you were to do an exit interview with every person na ginawa ang Usana at umalis, probably ang pinakarason is relationship. So in team performance, belief, action, result is not enough. You have to bring in the factor of relationship. And relationship is very important. Continue pa rin yung individual performance, but this is where relationship becomes a major factor as well, equally important as all the other three. Because relationship can directly influence belief, as belief influences relationship. And yung action, although action can create results, but your action, all right, pwede ring may action kasi na ikaw personally nagke-create ka ng result, pero naaapakan mo yung relationships. Tama? Pag naapakan mo yung relationship, still at the team level, it will have an effect on the results. Because probably isa lang yung top performing and the rest nawala na ng moral. Do you get that? So as a leader, because you are a leader right now, kaka-platinum pay setter mo lang, meron kang 4 katao or more, in other words. So ibig sabihin, now you are handling a team, you want to take care of the belief, you want to have a routine for people to take consistent action and be accountable for. And then at the same time, you want those results, but bring in relationship aspect. Okay? That is why importante yung sinabi kong high trust relationship. And high trust relationship can actually bring in high recruitment as well because there is a smooth teamwork and high retention as well as high results eventually. Okay? The other factor, sandwich ito, quality, quantity, quality. The other factor is actually what we call high-speed replication. Okay? The term is replication, although it's synonymous to duplication. But I use replication because duplication is, sometimes being able to create an entire thing, all right? And then you duplicate. And that's, we don't have to argue about the terms, but I just use replication here. Number one, dahil nasimulan ko ng puro R. So let me just justify why replication. So replication means high-speed replication of culture, high-speed replication of strategies and processes, scripts, tools, resources, and stuff like that. Because people don't have to be a copy of you. All they need to do is just copy the business, right? Copy how the business is actually run. Okay? So iba-iba pa rin yung personality. You have to be inclusive in your organization kasi hindi lahat ng tao parehas ng personality. What you need to replicate is not you. You actually need to replicate, the processes and the systems within your organization. Okay? So I think that should be very, very clear, so that it doesn't become an issue if people do not have the same personality as you. You can still empower them because neutral yung systems and culture and processes as well as tools and resources that you offer people and scripts. And it doesn't have to be based on personality. So why is replication important? Why replicate? Okay? Now, I know, let's say ngayon, it's a given that you all want to be successful, right? So replication, this is how you can see the importance of replication, success dedication. Ibig sabihin, meron ka nung, ibig sabihin may belief ka, may action ka, you want to create results. But replication, this is where you also have to build relationships and people under you or 360s, upline, downline, cross lines, and peers. It's really replicating, okay? So in other words, there are already people involved. So let's say you only have success dedication right now and you reach level 5 in terms of your success dedication. Obviously, you can create a result. You can be a platinum pay setter and probably even become an achiever, right? And then later on, you decided to move your success dedication to number 8. You double that. You probably became a gold director there. Tama? Na mag-isa. Posible yun, di ba? So, anyway, a lot of people are doing it their way. So, that way. So, anyway, let's say you really push it to the next level. Now, you have an option now. You can actually push it all the way to level 10 by yourself, but I don't think that in network marketing is healthy that you're working out by yourself. And besides that, even if you maximize your success dedication, we have what we call, I forgot the term, but diminishing returns. When you maximize things, you don't always, in nature, you are not always at the maximum. And when you hit maximum, oftentimes magtitake ka ng rest and reduce the energy a little bit so you can replenish again. Kaya may diminishing return siya. Of course, pwede mong ibalik ulit, pero always there is a diminishing return. And this is where you need to be strategic, where you need to be replicating, okay? So let's say you are only at level 7 in terms of your success dedication. Hindi kailangan ikaw yung pinakamagaling, pero magaling kang mag-replicate. Okay? Magaling kang magturo sa mga tao na yung ginagawa mo, ginagawa din nila. Okay? So anong mangyayari ngayon? So let's say you're able to replicate yourself to about 4 people and you're able to maximize that. May 4 ka, pare-parehas kayo lahat at level 7, tama? Then eventually your results will be bigger in terms of coverage of your results. Tama ba? meron siyang multiplying factor compared to just getting it to 10. So let me give you some examples between success dedication without replication and success dedication with replication. So let's say you maximize it at level 10, all right? Pero ikaw lang mag-isa nagtatrabaho, etong side na to. So the results that you would get is only 10. And let's say dito, success with replication, you are at 7, sabihin na natin nag-10 ka, tapos ngayon may circumstances, then you are at 7, pero you're able to replicate to 4 people, then 7 times 4, and these 4 people are also performing at the same level as you are, then 7 times 4 is 28. Mas malaki pa rin yung magiging resulta for you in this business. And one thing about network marketing is that it directly compensates you for replicating because your income is basically based on group sales and not just on your individual sales. All right? So let's say you take it to the next level, 7 ka pa rin, pero you recruited more people, then you retained more people, you equipped more people, then you had 9, then eventually you have 63 right now. You get that? Hindi pa passive income, wag muna kayo mag-isip ng passive income, by the way. And I have, sometimes we get too drowned by the idea of passive income. Kikita ka lang ng income na straight na 100,000 na every single month and you call it passive income, tuloy ikaw naging passive. Tama? I have yet to see a businessman who's really successful and just after living his dream life after gaining a passive income. Or let's say going back to comfortable life after earning a passive income. Most successful businessmen are so dedicated to self-dedication, to success dedication, and also dedicated in terms of adding value to others. That's why they never get tired doing and multiplying their value through whatever means and whatever vehicles. All right? So there you go. So the point here is that even if may mga circumstances, let's say you're not able to give your level 10, you are at level 7, but you're very good at replicating, then eventually you get greater results compared to when you are alone, right? Maximizing your success dedication. So what if nag-level 10 ka pa, di ba? Tapos yung 9 mo nag-level 10 din. O sigurado yan, ang daming rank advancement, you get to 90. Tama? And then if you add more, you go even beyond in terms of result. That's not percentage, but you actually go beyond in terms of results. So my point here, if I may ask you, what creates exponential growth in your Usana business? Obviously, it's really replication. Without replicating, there is no exponential growth. So dapat talaga nag-i-invite ka, nagre-retain ka, nagtitrain ka so that marami kayong nagre-recruit at marami kayong nagre-retain at marami kayong nagpe-present and stuff like that. All right? So what builds sustainability in your Usana business? Obvious, right? It's still replication. It's really not about you alone. And it doesn't, I always tell people in this business, do not make it, I know that you love recognition so much. That's fine if that's your personality. But don't make it your pursuit to be in the limelight. But make it your pursuit as a leader to be the light on people so that you get them in the limelight. And that is replication. Not just you in the limelight, but getting more people in the limelight. And when they are in the limelight, support them, give them 100%, maging stage mother or father ka, but just allow these people to step on their shoulders so that they become better than you, right? Because you are in the business of duplicating anyway, right? Next, what generates passive income in your Usana business? It's definitely replication because you're not going to have passive income if it's only dependent on your own results or on your own efforts, okay? That is why high-speed replication is the name of the game. And you have to think in terms of how do I come up with high-speed replication? Again, for that to be high-speed, it's a sales organization. It has to be very narrow in terms of the things that they need to develop. Do not make it, because you're not in the business of complicating, but you are in the business of replicating. Get that? So do not complicate, instead replicate. And find ways to replicate. Di ba maghanap ka nga ng parang molds? Okay? In MIT, we are actually trained, for example, to come up with ideas and how we can scale them. And when it is a material product, the way to scale them is different in terms of kung 10 lang ang gagawin mo para i-test mo sa market whether the market would, bibili nila or not, compared doon sa, let's say you had an order of 10,000, iba na yon. Ibang engineering na, ibang science na ipapasok mo doon, because it has to be very narrowed and the process has to be narrowed and simple because there are other people involved already. So replicating is important, and it has to be narrow, it has to be repeatable so that it becomes scalable. Okay, so get that picture? So there you go. Now, how to develop a team as a beginner, right? Hindi kailangan mag-start ka ng sarili mong team, sarili mong pangalan, after platinum pace setter and whatever. So again, be wise, because this business is about leveraging. As I told you, it is not about you alone. I know probably you're a millennial or not a millennial, but you're too excited to start your own team and make a name for yourself and stuff like that. But you know, it's always wiser to leverage on what is already there. And I'm sure you already have what is already there in your team. So magtanong ka sa mentors mo, paano po natin dinidevelop yung high trust relationship? Paano po yung high recruitment? What activities do we do? High retention and stuff like that. So whatever is available in the team, maximize that, participate in that, be proactive, and also contribute to it. You get that? As a beginner, that's all you need to do. You don't have to spend, hours na maggagawa ka ng diagram kung ano magiging plano mo or whatever to create your own system. You don't have to do that. All you need to do is actually start leveraging. Be smart and be wise. You don't have to create everything from scratch. Just maximize what your teams are already having. Do you get that? Now, another way of doing it is so that you can have a check in all of these areas is to think of these 5 factors for developing your team and growing your business towards replication as pillars of your business. So isipin mo lagi, how am I doing in terms of building relationship with my downlines or emerging leaders? Am I in a relationship with them? O masyado ba akong suplado? Or masyado ko pa silang dinadala sa level ko without being empathetic about them? Right? Am I too, stuff like that. So you have to keep score in terms of how's my relationship going as a pillar because I'm building my business strong. And recruitment, am I recruiting enough people so they would start coming in? And are my leaders also recruiting? Am I providing all opportunities for leaders to start, for that it's easier for people to be recruiting? Do we have scripts available? In terms of retention, how do we retain people? How do we lock them in? How do we engage them? How do we onboard them? And, how do we keep people so that they start to grow and start to see themselves to become leaders as well, right? And then results. How do we keep track of who are qualifying for contests? How do we keep track of the rank advancements? What are the plans that we're making? So I'm sure meron na yan sa team nyo eh. Diba? May mga, probably hindi siya defined as pillars, but they are still pillars. And I'm putting words and whatever structure to what you have right now so that you become more systematic in terms of how you build your organization. And then replication. Okay? So, anong mga samples nito? So, examples would be like this. So, sa relationship, since online tayo, ano yung mga virtual teaming na ginagawa ninyo so that people will feel that they are part of a team? Alright? Do you meet once a week? How do you look like when you meet once a week? What's the culture you want to develop? What values do you want to emphasize? What standards? Stuff like that. It's all part of having a purpose-driven relationship and probably celebrating wins together. How do you innovate so that you celebrate wins even if online lahat? Diba? And then celebrating people. Hindi lang yung wins, hindi lang yung rank advancement, but spending time with people because they're telling them as a leader, telling these people they are important. You want to celebrate their gifts. You want to celebrate the contribution to the team. And transformational meetups lang. Kasi sometimes we become very transactional. Nakikipag-meet ka lang kasi may transaksyon o kaya may rank advancement na gagawin. Alright? Relationship means, touching base on people based on relationship. Knowing kailan ang birthday ng asawa niya, yung mga anak niya, or whatever. Tama? And make sure na pag may dinadaanan, nandun ka din. And Usana helps as a program to our Usana Foundation is also a wonderful opportunity for renewal, so that renewal in terms of relationship and commitment. All right? Bonding sa team, stuff like that. Recruitment naman, of course, health and freedom. Are you maximizing team's health and freedom? How about the corporate na ino-offer? And we have a lot of those resources that are available. Tama? And then as a leader, all you need to do is really, inform others, pass it on to your downlines, bridge events. May nakita ko may bridge event about financial literacy, may bridge event about yung iba, may bridge event sila about side hustle. And then kasama dyan sa recruitment, ano yung mga sales tactics na ginagawa and scripts na ginagawa ng team mo? Then you also have to learn it by heart, all right? And make sure you're passing it on. As I said, if you want to be consistent, for example, in recruitment, what you actually need is a routine. Okay? Nagagawin mo lang siya. So retention, pwedeng pagpasok nila, career development, because a lot of people apparently have to give up their careers. So what's ahead for them in this business? Okay? How do you map out his 10 years in USANA? Stuff like that. In terms of rank advancement, ano yung mga payoffs sa kanya? What is he passionate about? Right? So for me, for example, every rank advancement, what I do is that I go back to MIT or Harvard and take my course and stuff like that. And it's my form of rewarding myself because also I want to be able to add value to the community. And then company incentives. Ayan, ito pa, retention, mga growth groups or buddies or interest groups, stuff like that. So anyway, sa results naman, goal setting, one-on-one, yung mga rank advancement plans, company incentive, team-sponsored contest, and whatever you can do to optimize the results in the organization. And then replication, anong system sinusunod, di ba? May mga meeting after meeting, anong proseso, step 1, step 2, step 3, and you want to make it really narrow and simple and replicable. And then what tools, okay? Make sure, kasi di ba, meron ka ng may available na usually mga upline di ba, na may tools tayo, na meron ng mga videos for particular whatever, ganon. So what can you leverage? And then leadership development is part of replication because sometimes results would not equal to leadership. There are others who actually climb up too fast in terms of results, all right? And I don't know how they do that. But basically, I've seen through 11 years in USANA and even with my past experience in network marketing, there are people who are creating results and that's good. You recognize them, palakpakan mo, wag mong kalabanin. But you also want to make sure that they are growing as leaders because there are people na may rank pero walang leadership. Tama? And that's part of the replication na ko-consider mo and then coaching and mentoring that you have to do. So, also take note of the team esteem. Kung may self-esteem, meron din tinatawag na team esteem. And team esteem is created by these clarity in terms of these 5 things. Number 1, mataas yung team esteem kung lagi kayong everyone is after a goal. Okay? So make sure goal setting is really part of your routine. Mataas yung team esteem if the roles and the responsibilities and resources are clear. Sino ang pupuntahan, ano yung responsibility niya, tapos saan kukunin yung resources. If that is clear, people feel good about it and people feel like they're being supported. And then environment and expectations. What do you expect from them? Anong standards ninyo? What kind of environment? You want to make it very enthusiastic, right? And then action and accountability. Mataas ang team esteem kung lahat nagtatrabaho tapos may accountability. Nare-recognize ang progress. Nare-reinforce ang progress. Tama? Nako-correct ang tamang dapat i-correct. Nadi-develop yung and timetable. So when you come up, for example, with a system, let's say we have more mature leaders here, then make all of these as part of the consideration para tahi-tahin mo yung sistema. Okay? But if you're new, leverage on whatever your upline is offering you. Okay? Kasi you don't want to be slowed down just by designing all of these things. It will take some experience. You can definitely discuss it with your uplines, whatever improvements. But if I were you, whatever is already proven, start leveraging on that, maximizing on that. So team esteem, ask yourself, team esteem is developed when you have these things. Like our team has clear goals, may team goal, my individual goal. Team members know their roles and responsibilities. Ano bang role ko? Ano bang responsibility ko na meron na akong 4 ngayon? Oh, that should be very clear so that, di ba, ayaw mo yung nawawala ka even sa work, may onboarding process so that you will be, oriented of your roles and responsibilities. And our team works in an environment of inclusion. Ibig sabihin, hindi lang one personality ang minamagnify, but anybody from different backgrounds, from different personality, and they are, it's very healthy environment with enthusiasm. Hindi binabakbite, yan, ano yan. You know, take that away because you're in relationship, and relationship is very important. Tama? All team members support one another through thick and thin. All right? So, pasama yan. Whether transactional or transformational in the context of the business or not, be there through thick and thin. Walang iwanan. Do not be exclusive. All right? But be very inclusive even in selection of leadership. Make sure that people feel that the top leadership is open. All right? Open for whoever who wants to get there. All right? And then we maintain a balance between task performance and relationship building. Diba? May time na task performance nagra-run, pero bawi-bawi sa relationship. But if you already have a system in place, then more or less, it's not so much of an issue already. We nurture and develop, we nurture the development of a feedback-rich environment. So feedback, regular feedback. Feedback is the breakfast of champions. Diba? So dapat nag-feedback lagi. Kasi mababa yung team esteem. Nagtatrabaho ka tapos wala ka nang marinig sa upline mo. Dapat ikaw ang upline. Dapat, you know, you reach out to people, right? And kung hindi, I always tell people, do not look for a mentor. Instead, trap a mentor. Because there are a lot of people who are looking for a mentor, but trap a mentor, meaning somebody you can really work with. Because there are a lot of speakers, right? In my experience in Usana, a lot of people would want to come to me, not because I'm good, but probably they're impressed with whatever I know or however I say it, and they come to me. And eventually, it's okay. We're in relationship. But I tell you, I mean, I can only do so far. But at the level is, you don't want to have too many mentors. But what you really want is somebody you can trap, meaning you can be in long-term relationship with. And that the mentoring is very dynamic because you can use a mentor. Use doesn't mean gamitan. But you can, you know, in English, you can do that. But you can use or you can leverage on a mentor on a daily basis while you're doing business. And then, of course, you remember together to celebrate wins, to increase your team esteem. All right? Increase team esteem. Now, I have something to tell you very, very important. Some of you probably already know I'm also an associate to Marshall Goldsmith, is the #1 leadership thinker in the world. And I get to work with him in large coaching projects, especially among Fortune 500 executives, especially now. And we use a program, and our program has 95% success rate in terms of leadership development globally. All right? Now, isa sa mga things that we've discussed is that organizational performance, yung organizational results, is basically influenced or generated by the organizational culture. All right? By 35%. So saan nanggagaling yung 65%? Ang 65%, manggagaling siya sa marketing, manggagaling siya doon sa production, sa research and development. In other words, kung sa Usana pa siya, 65% of the organizational result or success mo in Usana, all right, is actually the role of the corporate. All right? In other words, ikaw ngayon na nasa Usana, sa totoo lang, hindi ka 100% na ikaw talaga yung key to success. 65% of your key is because Usana is coming up with great products, great program, great management. And that's true. And that is science-based research. 65% is always coming from that, no matter how good you are. So wag masyadong lumaki ulo natin because hindi tayo yung pinaka-majority ng source ng sarili nating success. Think of you na magaling ka, pero walang magandang produkto, or walang magandang management, or nobody's handling the supply chain. You get that? Or the value chain. Tama? And all of that, compared to traditional business, you have to think about 100% of the entire business system and processes. But here, 65% is taken care of. In other words, ang trabaho mo na lang talaga is only the 35%. And understand what happens in the 35%. Your organizational results, all right, is influenced by your organizational culture. Yun. Ibig sabihin, kung tama yung ginawa mong kultura, eventually you create the results, sustainable or not. Now, however, the organizational culture will always be dependent on the behavior of the leaders, and it will influence by 50 to 70%. Kung ano yung behavior ng leader, 50 to 70% of that will really reflect on the organizational culture. Okay? So in other words, if you want to totally recalibrate the results in terms of network marketing, reflect on the culture. All right? And culture is a very complex thing. It doesn't happen overnight. I've worked with companies to really recreate their culture. Usually it takes 7 years to recreate a culture if it's a very complex type of organization. And then, however, ang pinaka-key factor is actually the leadership behavior. So my point here is this: if you want to have a high-performing team, dapat ikaw, you have to reflect on yourself as a leader. You get that? And let me take you to the idea of how you can become as a leader and where to start if you don't know where to start. Is that okay? As I told you, leadership is really key in terms of creating successful teams. Now, let me share something right now na baka pwede mong mabaon before I end. I'm sorry if I'm going over time. Last 6 minutes. So here, I told you I grew up in the slum, right? And at the same time now, I get to talk to Fortune 500 executives, affluent people, influential people. I not only in the Philippines but outside of the Philippines, at the in my function as an executive coach for Marshall Goldsmith. And in other words, I was exposed to both worlds, among the richest and also among the poorest of the poor. Okay? And this is what I realized. I realized through those years the difference between what makes people successful or rich and others who don't become rich at all. So if you're interested, stay tuned. And I'd like to tell you something very important because I believe this is where it will all start. All right? Now, I understood something about poverty. I realized that poverty does not happen to people. People are poor not because it happened to them, not because minana sa kanila. Now, let's say you're poor right now. You're poor right now, but how old are you? You're already 20, and you had like probably a couple of years to think about whether to remain poor or not. And probably you said, wala naman akong ganong skill to turn it around. Remember, wala akong kaalam-alam before. I just happened to have a mentor who really inspired me, but in 10 months, I turned out to be a millionaire. All right? Now, it's not something exclusive to me. You can also do that. I just probably observed some of the patterns that make people millionaire and I applied it in my own life. So poverty does not happen to people. Whatever results you have in your life right now, it did not happen to you by chance. If you don't have money right now, if you are still under debt, it did not happen to you by chance. If you still have lack, it did not happen to you by chance because poverty doesn't happen to people. And stop blaming others if you're poor because poverty, again, doesn't happen to people because poverty is a choice. It is your own choice. Now, let's say the government is not providing enough opportunities for you. But the point is this, others are also in the same country. If you think there's a lack of opportunity, then others also are experiencing a lack of opportunity. But they chose not to be stuck in a condition when there are lack of opportunity. They found the opportunity. They look for opportunity. In other words, they made the right choices so that they get out of poverty. So poverty doesn't happen to people. Poverty is actually a choice. Are we here? And in fact, poverty is actually a mentality. It's a mindset that is being fed by two other mindsets. The first mindset is called victim mindset. And you have victim mindset when you're saying that conditions shape you. Kaya ako ganito, dahil ganito na akong lumaki, dahil nasa Pilipinas ako. And you tend to be playing victim and you're blaming and pinpointing on others. Tapos ikaw na yung naging effect of all the conditions that are around you. If you have that, it's poverty mentality, friends. What makes people poor in the first place is when they see themselves perpetually that they are victims. And for as long as you see yourself as a victim, you will never consider yourself as a solution. Right? Because you will always wait for somebody else to salvage you, somebody else to help you out, somebody else to bring you out of your situation because after all, you are a victim. That's what you think. And that's poverty mentality. And you hear that with a lot of poor people, even middle class, who have nowhere else to go except to become poor because they have embraced subconsciously a victim mentality. The other mentality that's feeding poverty is lack mentality. When you say resources limit me, hindi pa nakaka-present kasi wala pa akong iPad, wala kasing internet, hindi pa kasi ako marunong sa internet, blah, 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 I don't have all the resources. Shut up. You get that? Because all of these resources are available. Look, it is not really the resources that will change your life. It is your resourcefulness. And it's not your conditions that will unleash your greatness. it is actually your decision. Are we here? And the reason why victim mentality and lack mentality can cause poverty is because it robs you of that one important thing, which I think is the mother of success and the mother of leadership. And I have yet to see somebody who became an effective leader and who became sustainably successful without this. So what do you think is the mother of success and the mother of leadership? Isa lang ang nanay nila. And it's not even talent. It's not belief. It's not all of these things probably that you can pinpoint. The mother of real success and leadership, ladies and gentlemen, is this. And unless you have this, hindi mo maiangat yung business mo, pati yung buhay mo. The mother of leadership that will unleash all your potential in life is actually this. Are you ready? It is called 100% responsibility. If nothing is happening in your business right now, it's because you think you're a victim and you need an upline to help you out or to patch up an issue with you before you can have a breakthrough. So that instead of taking 100% responsibility, you think that others should be responsible why you're not rank advancing, why you are not creating the results, why you are not creating business right now. Right? If you're not taking 100% responsibility, there's no way you can be resourceful. Victim mentality and lack mentality will rob you of this one important thing that will make you successful and also become a leader. Because leadership is the foundation of creation of teams. That is 100% responsibility, which means no excuses, no drama, no complaints. All right? You are already in a wonderful opportunity. Give more, share more, enjoy more. No matter what the conditions are, no matter what the resources are. Remember, it's not the condition, but your decision. It's not the resources, but your resourcefulness. And that, my friend, kahit wala ka pang alam sa leadership or wala ka pang alam sa team development, if today you say, I am in charge 100%, you will do everything you can and you can't. You will move heaven and earth to really make it happen because you say, I am responsible for the results that I create in my life as well as in my USANA business. And I think I would end with that. Thank you. All right, tapos na po ako.
There you go. Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Rob. That was a very worthwhile 1 hour. Indeed, no? Ladies and gentlemen, and as you can see, Rob, in the chat box, everyone is moved, and it's a very busy chat box the whole time that you're talking. Thank you so much. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen, our executive one-star diamond director, Robert Rances, on the basics of developing your team for beginners. So for you who are new leaders in USANA, I'm sure you got a lot from that talk. It was very informative. Mga messages na nabigay, steps na binigay ni Robert Rances. So I'm sure that you are now excited and inspired. However, like sa sinabi nga ni Rob, take responsibility. No? All the information is great. However, if you don't do anything about it, if you don't take action, then it will be worth nothing to you. Okay, so whatever it was that you did during the talk, whether you recorded it or you wrote it down in your notepads, take action, okay? And there's no better time to start than now, okay? After this training, when we end this, start the first step in those actions that you identified during this talk, okay? So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much, Rob, for your time and for unselfishly sharing your expertise on the matter. Okay, so have a great rest of your evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good night, and see you in our next trainings.